this moment. I'd explained initially that for our company, in some instances, we build the software, and other instances we buy, and in some cases, like the guest I'm about to introduce, we partner. Um, when we discovered that we were trying to improve the productivity and efficiency of site teams at the company, we decided to partner with Crewscope. I'm here to introduce to you the co-founder of the company. Ehsan is a seasoned professional, has over 2 decades worth of experience in construction and tech, and in cybersecurity as well. He's here to help us to understand what he's built, the current state of the construction market when it regards to construction people and resources, and then the solution that he's helped to build, and how it can help you and help companies like ourselves improve our processes and be more profitable ultimately. So thank you very much, Ehsan.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Good? Okay. My name is Ehsan. I started Crewscope around 3 years ago with a co-founder of mine, Calvin. My background is in software, building software that people use, productivity software. I'm kind of newer to construction, 4 or 5 years now. My partner comes from the construction background. So I bring the software, he brings the construction background. So to tell you a bit about why we started this and how we came here, think back the last time you were stuck in traffic and you look ahead, you're late for a meeting like this. You look ahead, there's a lane reduction because there's construction going up. You're stressed, you're going, and as you're passing the job site, you look at the job site, well, there's chill. There's a couple of people having some coffee break, maybe somebody just doing something. I think the industry has a bit of a stigma of productivity not being completely there in the job sites. And what we did is that we started the company by going and talking to everybody. We did around 100 interviews with the workers on job sites, workers, foremen. The other side of the story was interesting too. So a lot of workers said, I feel transactional. I feel like replaceable in the job site. I come in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning. Nobody tells me what's happening or they just tell me, dig here until I come back. At the end of the week, I'm going home. I say, hey, boss, how did we do this week? This is like you're getting your paycheck. Everything good. It's very hard for people to connect with the bigger picture and the work. And that's demotivating, right? That's one of the main sources of this productivity challenge. One of the sentiments we heard a lot is 2 sentiments maybe. One was that whatever happens. There's lots of reasons for things to go wrong on the job site. And the other one was that nobody comes to talk to me on a job site unless they want to yell and scream for something I screwed up. So there's a bit of a lack of pat on the back for a good job done in the industry as a whole. So we, as an industry, we are missing a lot of workers today in the big picture. And I'm talking about looking at the span of 20 years. I know there's some lulls and ups and downs, and we are in a bit of a down after the interest rates went up and the condo market has slowed down a bit. But generally speaking, there's a big wave of retirement coming up. A lot of seasoned people with a lot of experience are going to retire in the next decade. And we need a lot of young people to replace them. That is hard because a lot of young people are not interested in construction. Everybody wants the remote job working from home, right? On the other hand, when you look at the company owners, the trades, the construction companies, the margins are very, very small. The dollar figures are big, but it's very hard to make a lot of profit in it because it's a big job, a lot of cost, people are expensive, labor is expensive. And the problem is going to be there. Interestingly, when we looked at the construction productivity index, a lot of other industries are becoming more productive. Like how much one person can do effectively is increasing. They have better tools, they have better communication, they're becoming more productive. In construction, we are actually losing productivity almost. We need more, we can't do more with the same number of people that we used to do 20, 30 years ago. Some of it is that, well, we kill less people in construction. Things are becoming safer, there are more regulations, but also we need to pick up productivity because we need a lot to be built and we don't have enough people to build it. This is kind of the summary of what we heard. People lack recognition, communication, and a bit of a motivation as well. Motivation piece comes in the sense that a lot of workers are getting paid hourly. So if the job goes a bit longer, they get paid even more, overtime, more. On the other hand, the job owners, the people that run the trades, the people that run the construction companies, a lot of times, if the job goes over, they lose money. So there's the alignment between people's motivations is missing a bit here. This is where there's a lot that can be done. So I talked about falling labor productivity challenge. Targets in the industry, I think if you look at the Eglinton LRT, kind of, you know that we are notorious in not being able to consistently meet deadlines. Again, it's very, very complex work. The bigger the project, the more things can go wrong in a project. And then more we need to create resiliency in the projects. The costs of missing targets are very, very big though. We have been working with a high-rise builder in the Dufferin area. They are building 2 35 stories rental towers as part of the affordable rental housing initiative. I asked the owner of the company, what's your cost every day that the job gets finished later? They told me $57,000 per day because they have mortgage from CMHC-backed mortgages. The total draw on it is around $100 million, $100 to $150 million. So every day that the job goes beyond, there's a ton of money that is comes off from the profitability of the project. So and who controls that? Every worker on the job has the ability to influence, to help keep the job on track. And generally, we believe that the workers are held back because they don't have enough communication. The communication is delayed. I can't count how many times I've heard the crew show up just to realize the site is shut down for the day. This feels bad, right? It's like we need a faster way of communicating. Okay, so the system that we came up with, and I'm not talking about software so far, it's just the system, is to help set goals for the job site, for the crew. Setting a goal means, how do we know if at the end of the week we are going home, if we did a good job or not? That's the simple question I ask every foreman on the job site. And sometimes we need to talk through it for them. Sometimes they say, hey, if I dig until that Tim Hortons on that side, I think we have had a good day. We try to simplify it. We try to come up with a goal that we set and we say, okay, let's write that goal down. Because a lot of times at the end of the week, we come back and we see that people don't agree what we agreed at the start of the week needs to be done. We push that through the software. This is where our software has been helping, is we communicate that to all of the workers. This, in a small setting, this could be just on a WhatsApp channel. On a bigger setting, This could be a software that helps helps set goals for every crew on the job site. There could be 10, 12 crews on a big job site, and then communicate to the workers. And then we encourage the foreman to communicate the progress. Today, we need to dig 50 meters of ditch. Today, we have 10 meters. Tomorrow, we are at the 18-meter mark. Hey, we are falling behind. Keep an eye on the rain tomorrow. This communication helps people think of the big picture as their day-to-day goes by. And at the end of the week, when people hit their goals, we encourage the job owners to put something on the line for the workers as well. So a bit of reward or incentive. It doesn't need to be a lot, but that helps celebrate almost hitting the milestone. And keeping this week by week, we have proven over and over that this works. We managed to keep long-running, big, complex jobs on track. I'm talking the same tower that we were talking about, $57,000 cost of delay per day. We managed to finish the precast install, which is one of the notoriously harder things to do, wind and all of that, 3-4 weeks ahead of the original schedule, not even adjusting for the weather. Generally speaking, engaged workers on job sites, they're safer because they think about their work and a big picture. It helps them stay safe. There's less absenteeism. One of the challenges of an industry is people not showing up to the work. Turnover is less. The companies can keep good workers on their job sites. There's more profit and more productivity. And this is a big survey that has been done across many industries, but generally speaking, helping keep people in the team engaged with the work gives a lot of results. As I mentioned, we shown that the productivity increases in reality when we do that discipline of goal setting, week by week, communicating the progress, and putting some incentives and reward to align the workers with the job owner. Forecast accuracy increases, and generally engaged workers, as I mentioned, do a better job. So this is what we do. Our software is one of the first software that I've seen the workers on job sites have access to. Most of the other, like when I sit in a Tim Hortons close to a job site, I see a lot of workers come in for a break there, and they're usually on their phones. Everybody has a smartphone these days, 95% almost. Everybody's on TikTok, WhatsApp, text. There are lots of sophisticated construction scheduling software from Procore and Fieldwire and this and that. Workers generally don't access those. People stopped even trying to give access to the workers because these software are complex. It's hard to navigate on a smartphone. They're not designed for the workers. We tried to change that by making it super simple, like overly simple for the workers to interact with. We eliminated even setting passwords. We send magic links so that you tap in, you're in. It's tied to your phone number. That's the way we have managed to get the workers' attention on the job site and make it simple to see what's happening, to get that communication. As a text goes a long, long way in this industry, what I'm realizing. So it's important for the software to meet people where they are. Any questions, by the way? Feel free to stop me and ask. Okay, this is what our app looks in a very overly simplified way. We set goals, 100 meters, 20 meters we need to dig. These are the markers. We sometimes track labor hours for the work. Sometimes it's based on the number of days. What are the crew? This is what the crew sees on a job site. When they finish and they can start earning points, we have gamified the system a bit. People love to celebrate the wins and earn some points, and they can come and redeem some points for some rewards in our platform. And one of our job is to go convince the big project owners that to put some of that contingency money that they have for the projects to put back for the workers. One of the case studies, we did this 2-3 years ago. One of our first projects with Ehsan. This was in Alberta. This is the Capital Line in Edmonton. Ehsan, one of the self-performing arms of Ehsan, was contracted to reroute the sewage so that the train can use that track. So they planned the work to take 11,000 planned hours after lots of weeks and lots of crews on the job. When we tallied up, they got the whole job done with 10,000. We saved around 850 labor hours on that job site because they were a bit more efficient with their own labor hours. That translates because overly the cost of labor hour for the construction manager, for the employers is a lot higher. There's the labor where skilled labor is not inexpensive, but on top of that, there's union dues and CPPs, and a ton of that adds up to around $100. So that job really helped save $85,000. $8,000 was distributed to the workers as a reward. We showed a 10x ROI return, but on top of that, forecast accuracy, a lot of the workers stayed for the next job together. We help build crews that are high performing. One of the key takeaways is that also, if you're on the other side of the line, your hours matters. So when you focus on making every hour count, the employers see that person as somebody that they really want to keep and promote and invest in. What we learned is that team-based goals promoting work. In contrast to setting goals for individual workers, a lot of cases I heard people created a bit of peer pressure to help each other when we set the goal as a crew. For example, for a precast installation crew, which is like typically 5 workers, 1 foreman, we also included the crane operator as the part of the crew that was getting the updates and all of that. Crane operator was from another vendor, completely. Like crew operator is typically part of the concrete forming vendor. But by including everybody that needs to get the job done, we helped create a high performance team. Goals and feedback improve intrinsic motivation. It's not all about those rewards. To be honest, at the end of the day, if you compare like a $25 to $50 for a week compared to a laborer that is getting paid $40, $50 an hour at 50, 60 hours a week, it's a drop in a bucket. But feeling that you win and getting that feedback from the job owners that somebody's seeing what I'm doing, somebody's seeing that I pushed and got 40 panels installed this week makes a huge difference. We experimented with weekly bonuses. If anybody is interested, we found that a good range is somewhere between $15 to $50 per worker per week. More than that, it's kind of starts becoming a variable pay, which we don't want to get into. Lower than that, it's just like at the cost these days, it's just not useful at too low. We learned, and this is proven, that you should not do attendance incentives. There has been job sites that like they're remote, it's hard to get to people. When the weather is good, people don't show up for the job site. Putting incentives for attendance makes attendance transactional. And then people say, hey, so if I don't go, that's how much it's worth not going. It's like, it just makes it a bit. So we typically recommend putting incentives if you put on the goal, on the big picture of the goal where we get value from, like getting the job done. and people will show up. We target for the goals to be hard enough, but also not too hard. It needs to be realistic, and people need to hit them 80-90% of the time. If it's too hard, or if you take blanket, here's the master schedule, you're behind, but doesn't matter, just put the date in, it's not going to happen. People should believe that these targets can be hit. Adding hours to time cards sometimes happens a lot on job sites, as the foreman has that way of giving something back to people is very ineffective because it's very costly, all of the overheads. Recognition in a separate channel goes a long way in comparison to just adding some more to the payroll. And we've shown that it is possible to improve productivity 10-15%. Sometimes we go talk to a owner of a trade company, and sometimes they say, well, no, there's no way to do better because we are at the mercy of weather and this and that. We disagree. I'll tell you a story about one of the job sites at the end, and that might be it. And one last thing, I don't know, just think about a company, a trade or a GC or even a rental development company. They're running, and typically profit margins are 5-10%. If your cost increases by 5%, that eats away the entire profit margin almost. On the other hand, if you save 1% from 1% improvement in productivity, translates to 10%, 20% improvement in profit margins, which is a difference between a growing company that can go hire more people and be really prosperous compared to a company that is struggling. So every 1 to 2 to 5% matters, really. That's it. The story that I was thinking and I wanted to share was that we worked with one of our early customers was Condrain. If you've seen the manholes on streets of Toronto, you might see a CD, a Condrain logo. They have been around for 60 or something years, and half of the stormwater sewage system in Toronto is built by them. So they get paid by the city for putting up these big blocks, concrete blocks of pipe in the ground. These are the wastewater pipe or stormwater pipe. And we implemented the system, and we saw that they were, instead of doing 8 pieces per day, they bumped up to 10, 12 pieces per day. That's amazing. The system worked out. We went to present it to the company's owner, and it's like if we had to explain what happened, what was the difference. So I went to talk to the people on the job site to see what did they do differently. They said, well, we are doing this in Aurora, that's north of the city, and there's a lot of groundwater. So every time we come in the morning, the ditch the trench is full of water, knee high or more. It's not safe to work. So we have to put the pump to start draining the water before we can go in and start our work. And we typically go get a coffee break for an hour and a half in the morning. When they were motivated a bit, one of the workers said, well, I think I can rig the pumps and put the fuel from the night before so that when the water level hits this much, it starts draining. By the time we come in the morning, it's already dry and we can go. That saved an hour and a half from the job site every day, which meant a lot more work that could be done. The thing is that people sitting in the office have no idea about these things. And the workers typically, they're not thinking that way, that every hour counts unless they're more aligned. Anyways,
Thank you very much.
that's my part. Thank you.
I have questions for you. Okay. You have a question?
Yeah, I just have a question, but
Then I was gonna ask you, based on your experience, because I've worked with people on site that are like older. I'm not being ageist, but like some of them are like more resistant to change the technology, and they don't want to give out their phone numbers, or they don't want to be involved with all of this stuff. They want to come to work, do their scope, and go home. How do you manage, or how would you encourage people here that have similar concerns about I don't want anyone texting on my private phone number, for example?
Yes. So the way we have been doing this is that it's voluntary. If anybody wants to not be included, that's fine. When I've been rolling this out, I've encountered a couple of people, like there were 2 truck drivers in a quarry that the day they started the work was 1981. They've been on the job more than I've been alive, doing the same back and forth. They still had flip phones, but they still could receive texts, and they were fine with receiving texts. And we said, okay, I'll help you. Every time they wanted we'll put it back to payroll or something. I mean, 1 or 2 cases, people were a bit offended because they were like, in my time, like, you should be working, not like this is your job. You shouldn't be getting rewarded for that. We see that attitude a lot less in the younger generation.
Yep.
But overall, I haven't had like somebody completely say, no, I don't want this at all. But we do what we can do. 95% of people buy in. That's fine.
Sorry, question.
Okay, so how big your software very big the companies? I mean, if we want to have more details, what information are monitored through? That is had to have the job done.
There are a couple of things. One is that when you start measuring on-site progress every day, which is typically not done, or done on a journal of the foreman and just not ever connected to things, you can start having a record of, first of all, how performance of each crew and each job is, and you can start taking back that information for next estimation of the job. So, like this
more tests monitor.
Yeah, getting basically field productivity data back to the office. That's one benefit. The other benefit is that, of course, the job owner, the developer, if their job gets, if their building is closed earlier, there's a lot of money in it for them. It's a bit complex because there's a developer, there's a general contractor, there's a subcontractor, and their workers. Like, it's a very complex system. Some of them get, if a subcontractor is a fixed bid job, paid by piece or paid for the project, of course, the more, if they can do the job with 9 workers instead of 10 workers, there's a lot more money in it for them. Or if they can get the job faster, they can go to the next job. A lot of these trades depends on the segment and timing, but they have a hard time finding, for example, certified carpenters that are willing to go to North Bay to do this kind of a work. So they need to be very focused and effective with their work.
If the job is finished earlier than scheduled, however, this rework required, how is this factored into the reward system?
That's a great question. So part of when we write the goal, part of the goal is also the criteria that we write at the participation criteria, we say, in the program. Participation criteria is that you have to work safe. You can't bypass safety to push to do things faster. That's one of the reasons we also don't increase the reward. The more you do, the more you get. We actually don't encourage that. We either hit our goal or not. We try to keep things realistic. So we ask the foreman and the crew to say how much they think they can do, and we set that as a goal. It's not about pushing to do more. It's about committing to something and taking ownership of your work. And that means it's more realistically set, and you don't need to do crazy things to get it done. And then at the end of each week, the way we have put it in our software is that when the foreman says the job is done, closed, it goes to a site super to review the work. They might wait for a day to strip the concrete to check if there are no honeycombing or there's no issues, and then they can approve. If the quality starts falling, they can take away the program, which people don't like. So we highlight every week that quality, safety matters. And so far we have been good. To be honest, like we had this pilot and the developers general manager came in and asked the construction manager, the site super, like, how are things? Do you think this might have made safety worse? And he said, no, that actually, I think, is improved the safety because people are more engaged and think about their work. So in reality, it's not just on paper. In reality, I've seen it happen.
I have another question. Good. So what would be the ideal stage or phase that your software or your team would want to get involved into a specific project for the, let's say, for the full benefit, or for the, to be able to see fully the system that some were well?
I would actually take it a step further and say some jobs we do better, some jobs it's harder to get that benefit. The jobs that are bigger, longer, and you need to, a crew is working together week after week, is much more effective. When you have a piecework, like a small, like a single home, family home, people come in 3 days, do their work. It becomes more administrative to start setting goals. But if you're on a high-rise, commercial, warehouses, data centers, bigger project, specifically if you have to install 20,000 pot lights, for example, then you can start measuring week after week the progress and becoming better. But if your job involves going 4 days here, 2 days the other place, and it's individual work, it's not the best fit.
When we use the platform to set like a daily target, for example, an update, what happens if we all agree on an update and that update was like the target wasn't met for the day? Is that used against the workers or the foreman or like people on site?
I have had the foreman of the trades object being worried that whatever they put in the system could be used against them. We try to ensure that this is a tool for you on the site. We don't go replace contractual obligations or anything like that. It's just productivity tool. It's a bit of a trust building with the general contractor, site super, to comfort them that, look, I will still look at the progress, and the same things if you're behind, the same things would happen. But this is a way for you to work with your workers to stay ahead of the game. There are cases that, let's say you start the week, you think that there are 4 good days and you can do 8 panels per day, and you set a goal. The weather changes suddenly, or the crane break. It's out of the control of the crew. In the system we implement, we say the foreman or the crew can raise their hand in the middle of the week and say, oops, sorry, this was our assumptions, and we encourage them to write the assumptions that we can get this goal done as long as we get the crane 8 hours per day and this and that. And if something happens, you can raise your hand and say, well, I don't think we can do this anymore. We have to revise, and we can go and update the goal, and still we get their green thumbs up and their points. But if you come at the end of the week and say, oops, we didn't meet because 4 days ago the crane was not available, you say, no, we can't do that. Then the goal is already set and the end of the week is reached. Because what happens is that triggers the site super and others to now get a quick response, and they can say, oh, yes, makes sense. So I took away the crane, but maybe I can give you the crane 2 extra hours tomorrow. Do something about it in the middle of the week and to keep things on course. A lot of times we are doing weekly. A lot of times people measure things at 1 month, 2 months. By the time 2-3 months has passed and the project is 2 months behind, there's nothing you can do anymore. Like, it's already done. So we try to get ahead of things. And to your point also, I strongly encourage starting at the start of the job. Not all trades need to start and not all trades need to be there, but critical path trades at the start of the job if they start, because that first few days matters even. A lot of times I've seen installers come to the new site, not very focused or not familiar with things, and they can fall behind very easily at the start of the job, and then it becomes much harder to catch up. So it's best to have that discipline at the start. I prefer not to go as a kind of a after the damage try to fix things. That is not the case. This is there to be proactive about that discipline.
I don't know if anyone else has any questions, but I just wanted to briefly talk about why it's imperative for crews and just people working in construction generally to adopt technology. Because I've heard people say, why not just buy pizza sites and reward people for a good day's job or a good week's job?
That's a good question. One of the things is that if you want to attract younger generation to your job sites, their expectation has changed. Their expectation is different. The expectation of communication, which is much harder if you don't do it with technology, is there. Also, on the other hand, I'm a technology guy, but I'm not advocating for just dropping a bunch of software in a construction setting and saying, okay, we got technology in. It's important to be very deliberate about adoption of technology. But also, again, like without technology, sometimes the processes are so cumbersome, people stop following. Like the same process can be done easily and I've seen sometimes one foreman, and out of 20 foremen, they do the process. They write on a whiteboard on their WhatsApp channel every day how we did. Without technology, it's a bit hard to get the rest of the crews to do the same or keep it up. I would say also connecting. People hate what I've seen. People hate double entry. So if you can bring and connect the software together so that you record your progress in a day in one place and then everybody can have access to it, it goes a long way. So opening up the software to each other, to other trades, that collaboration is very, very critical and also hard to get right.
You had one question and repeat the software.
And works a lot. Work a lot. So in Babcom, we use manually a careful construct. It check daily work. There is a task, there is a time, and there is a post for one project, daily project. Oh, yes. If the project delayed, we made a cache work brush. That means 2 or 3 things, 2 or 3 independent network. We can work with different at the same time. If that we crash time. That means if take 10 time or 20 days, we make that loop in 5 or in 6 days. So it's manual. How this in your software didn't like it up to your software?
Well, in our software, you can set the targets. Like, is it a 1 week? How many weeks? We tried to keep it for a crew so that you don't need to do manual entry for every individual worker. Was that your question?
Yeah, you manually put everything in your software.
Right now, yes.
After that, if the project delayed odds not on the schedule. What we can actually
Okay.
what's the on the
Yes. Good question. So what we input, usually the input I get is a big master schedule. This is the schedule for 50 weeks, for example. Typically, we don't enter all the 50 weeks in one place, and these are the goals for the crew. Every week, we set that week's goal. The way it happens is that usually the trade foreman sits with all of the trade foremen. They get together in a look ahead. They call it the look ahead. And they sit down with the site super, which could be Ehsan, for example, site super, and they discuss, okay, what can we do next? And this is the plan for next week and next 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes they go 6 weeks. Let's go look ahead, but that's about it. Even 6 weeks sometimes is a bit of a stretch. Things change too much. We try to only focus on that 1 week at a time. So there's not a lot of like a data entered already. We can import from other software, and I have developed integrations that you can make it easier for the software to do. And I'm also, I have embedded an AI system so that can read FieldWire or other tools and suggest a look ahead. So the key thing is that what we need for this every week is the look ahead, which sometimes can be manual, but I'm trying to automate. I'm working toward that. I'm not 100% there. There's some measures to go. But we try to keep it short. It's like the data entry for every week is 2-3 minutes, not more than that. If the project gets delayed and you have another 50 weeks of work in the system, you have to change everything, right? But if the project is delayed and you can go in the middle of the week and update this week's and next week's tasks, it's much easier to do.
yeah, it's good.
Thank you. And by the way, I always say one of the important things is keeping the goal achievable. Everybody needs to believe that the goal is achievable. Otherwise, people will say, we can't hit the target, whatever. And that whatever is the worst thing that can happen to job sites. Like I've sat down with owners of big companies and they say, we take 5 projects, we make everything is good until one project goes off the rail, and then we lose so much money in one project that offsets all of the good projects. So it's important that even if you're behind the goal, if the project is behind by 3 months, still set the goal for that week. Even though the goal will say you're still behind, don't take the goal blindly from a master schedule and expect people to hit it, because it's not going to happen.
I want to thank Ehsan for coming and helping us. Thank you. On Scan, we'll take a quick 10-minute break.